Flattener number 9, and it's called Informing, and it discusses Google, Yahoo, and MSN as a large flattener of the world because it brings about the idea of making knowledge available to everyone at anywhere at any time. It starts off with a quote that says, "When individuals are empowered to inform themselves in all these new ways, it is enormously flattening but frightening." The chapter opens with like a description of the Google headquarters, and it says that there's this big globe inside of the building that's like spinning, and it emits lights, like light beams from where people are searching around the world, and the most lit areas are North America, Europe, Korea, Japan, and China. And it also says that there's boards around the walls saying what people are searching, and the top Google searches were sex, God, jobs, and I thought this was weird, but professional wrestling. It states that the research sites are huge flatteners because never before have people all over the world had access to such information. Google is now available in over 100 different languages, so that allows everyone to be able to search who has access to a computer. Search engines such as Google, Yahoo, and MSN have allowed people to make their own supply and demand chain of information, knowledge, and entertainment. With the number of Google searches increasing to about 1 billion a day, this has become one of the major flatteners of the world. Google works, when the co-founders, they made a mathematical equation that formulates the websites by linking, which means like the top search websites will be the most popular. This in turn made Google one of the most powerful search engines around. They have also like unbiased access to the website. If you have access to a computer or the web, there's no class boundaries. You don't have to pay money for it. You just have to be able to read and use a computer. The chapter, it was a very short one, but it ended with a quote. It said, "Google is like God. God is wireless, God is everywhere, God sees everything. Any questions in the world, you ask Google."
I had Flattener number 10. I was talking about Flattener number 10. The steroids, digital, mobile, personal, and virtual. First, I was like, steroids. It's like, first off, like Hulk Hogan steroids, but not exactly. The metaphor works well, but Friedman calls it certain new technologies. He calls certain new technologies steroids because they are amplifying and turbocharging all of the other flatteners that have been described earlier in this chapter. And this is the last section of the chapter, so it's closing it out. The section starts off with an example of two businessmen in China, and they were on a bullet train. I don't know if you all know what a bullet train is. It's moving pretty fast. It was going 150 miles per hour here for our speed limit, and it was a guy working for the New York Times, and he was stationed in China over there, and he had a colleague come over, and he was showing off to him about how good their wireless services are. He was able to do everything that we are able to do on a train moving 150 miles an hour, and he was saying, I can't even go from 30 miles from DC to where he needs to go to work without losing service twice on his phone. But that was just a little story that they used to start it off. Taking all of the flatteners in this chapter and making each one of them available to operate a function on a digital, mobile, personal, and virtual way is basically what this section was about. HP CEO Carly Fiorina, I'm not getting the name right, but she breaks it down this way. Digital, thanks to the PC, Windows, Netscape, workflow revolutions, all analog content and processes, everything from photography to entertainment, communication, to word processing, to architectural design, to the management of your home sprinkler system has become digitalized. Virtual, she explains it as the process of shaping, manipulating, transmitting this digitalized content can be and does very easily without, making us be able to do it without thinking about it at all. Like we basically expect, when you slide open your iPhone, you hit Twitter, Twitter's going to pop up. We don't think about all that has to be done for Twitter to pop up or anything like that. And mobile, thanks to the wireless world, everything can be done just about anywhere. As I was stating earlier, the story about the train, he was doing work stuff, and he was checking his email and stuff like that from the train. You can do things anywhere now. Personal, this means that all of these functions from yesteryear had to be done in the office with a team. You spent countless hours on them, and now these you can do them on your own for yourself, and you can do it from your own device. They gave one example of two men having a conference, and it was about colon cancer, new research for colon cancer, and it was a controversial topic. He had a new controversial way of trying to solve colon cancer or whatever, and he gave an example from the leading guy who did the colon cancer research, and they were questioning it. So one of the people that were there just looked the database up, just typed it in real fast, and then they called him on, what he said, and that it proved to be false. Sorry, Rambo. This section goes on to explain how these same steroids are becoming bigger, stronger, and faster, just the way normal steroids work on people, making each task that we already have today even made simpler and even easier to advance in each field. These steroids are making businesses more efficient and giving a whole new meaning to home entertainment. As a result of these steroids, engines and planes can talk to computers, people can talk to people, computers can talk to computers, and people can talk to computers farther, faster, and more cheaply, more easily than ever before. That's Flatteners.